The first 2 seasons of Paradise have now introduced the public to fundamental principles already alive in the human population. The returning season of the show will guide people towards the understanding of the universe from the Paradise perspective, the role and the implications for the human population at the heart of Paradise and beyond. The hostess of the show, Sonda Davis, the mother, is not just talking about imagining paradise. She is communicating the realities of paradise as she lived the very journey all the way from paradise and beyond. All of these, Sonda Davis was continuously working with deities and divinities from heaven and earth to ensure the transition from the old system based on duality and destruction to the new system, based on reconciliation, planetary safety, and divine evolution. The first 2 seasons of Paradise Now Dialogues with the Mother aired in 2016-2017 on Vision TV. At that time, the show was the beginning of the planetary dialogue about paradise on Earth. Since then, despite the many problems that we had on Earth, people evolved towards fulfilling the fundamental principles of paradise on Earth, and the structures of paradise stabilized to bring the entire population towards a vision of peace, prosperity, help for one another, love and responsibility for the planet, nature, family, spiritual and divine evolution. In 2022, during the planetary alignment, in consensus with the cosmic and universal law, all planetary beings, all planets of the solar system declared and recognized Earth as paradise, the mother planet.
Dr. Timothy Watson, thank you.
Hello, Mother.
Dr. Timothy Watson is author of many amazing books. You'll have the information to check his books if you wish. He's truly amazing. I've known Dr. Timothy Watson for some years now, and I know that I learned a lot talking with him. You'll see it for yourself. So, Doctor, what is today's topic?
We're going to talk about the ontological proof for the existence of God, which is based on a priori reasoning, which means that you use deductive reasoning based on a non-material form of reasoning. So you don't have any empirical or material evidence to support the claim. You just use pure reason or logic to show a logical proof for the existence of God. And we will then use that same proof to try to define the nature of God, principally to show that God cannot be a male.
Well, we're having a talk in our many hours of philosophical and divine talk, and we're just talking about the deductive thinking and about the non-empirical proof, right? And it was just a delight, and then Dr. Watson said, oh, that would make a good theme for the show. And I said, okay, that's right away, okay, we're filming it. And yes, we're filming today. So this is in the series of truth. I had a show about truth, then truth in our lives, truth continuum, then truth about old age. And now we go about truth about, how do you know truth about God? How do you prove what appears to be unprovable? Well, as we'll see, and if I understood well your reasoning that you'll help people with, God took care of that. God took care of the ways, of the many ways, in which people can come closer and closer to proving the existence of God. God omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, and all the powers, was not going to neglect something as important as the knowing and the trust, all the way to the proof that God is real. And God doesn't mind being proven real, doesn't mind having people inquire so that they have answers according to their own makeup. Philosophers look in a way, scientists look in some other way, faith people rely on faith, mystical people rely on mystical experience. So everybody has a piece of the puzzle according to their own build, their own culture, their own evolution, and all of that is good. We'll just have to discern where is fantasy, where is interpretation, and what is actually coming together towards evidence, because when you put all the pieces of the puzzle together, some don't fit, and some are really the puzzle who show you. Like if you see the puzzle, you'll see the woman. If you see the God puzzle, like it's flashed to my head right now, if you put all the right puzzles, you get a puzzle that shows you God with the planetary level, with all the stars, and God right there with the stars and the planets as part of that wholeness. But distinctly woman. So we're just talking about the ultimate truth. That's the subject of today's show. The ultimate truth. What is the ultimate truth?
That God is a woman.
See, the ultimate truth is that God is a woman. Now, all men who think that God is a woman, thank you very much. You may look in the mirror and you may find out that you still have hair on your heads. Most people who have reverence for femininity are in better health, they are more vibrant, more vital, enjoy life much more, respect more, and they have their hair. You know, do you associate the macho with the hair loss and the big muscles, but not too much hair? Or even shaving the little hair that is left?
I don't know that I would associate the macho type of male with a full-headed, full head of hair or being bald. But I do see what your point is, that unless you have a philosophy that's conducive to life, that's life affirmative, life affirming, then you are going to experience a loss of vitality, a loss of longevity, and the symptoms would be things like graying hair, hair falling out, baldness. It just makes sense. So if you're having a negative attitude towards that being that spawns life, namely the female being, then naturally you're in an anti-life modality. You're in an anti-life kind of.
So the bolder you are, the bolder you may be. I take it as a joke. I would love to see statistics. This is my insight. Okay, I'm just feeling that. And like you say, there are ways in which that would actually make sense. You have reverence for life, you have more of everything, including joy and the better build and the better vitality and maybe even better hair. Well, now there are hereditary factors there, but keep in mind, try to respect the ladies, you may grow some hair. And let us know. I would love somebody to actually do research with that. Actually, I would love to have statistics about the type of personality and hair loss. Because maybe some people could say, I'd better be respectful to the ladies than lose my hair. Anyways, on that mood, let's see the more profound philosophical points that you had that were a delight for me to hear.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll start with Saint Anselm, a Christian theologian. He had the ontological proof for the existence of God, which is that God is that being greater than which nothing greater can be conceived. So that being greater than which nothing greater can be conceived must exist in reality, because if it were only to exist in fantasy, then it would not be a being greater than which nothing greater could be conceived. So it must exist as an ontological proof. This argument shows that for the idea of such perfection even entering the human consciousness, it must exist in actuality and not just in some potential form or in some fantastical notion. It's got to exist in actual reality. Otherwise, it wouldn't comprise the essence of perfection that this whole phraseology would imply, right? So, yeah.
It seems to me like science fiction. If you can imagine it, it actually exists. Science fiction appeared to be imagination, appeared to be fantasy, until the evidence appeared that actually it's real. Like something conceived as science fiction becomes reality. If you think of 80 miles under the ocean, or if you think of Jules Verne's flight to the moon, at a time of who would think about flying to the moon? And here we know that. And spaceships, who could think of spaceships when they didn't know airplanes yet? Look what happens. We have science fiction that already prepares us. Science fiction is actually an avant-post that prepares us for where reality is heading. It is inspired. And I would add to what you just said that if something is this big and something this big and something this big, there must be something that's bigger than everything, and that's the God, right?
Very well said.
And you cannot imagine something bigger than what is. For people who missed our previous shows, we recommend that you go and visit YouTube and type in search Paradise Now, Dialogues with the Mother. You'll find there all the episodes. Please leave your comments. We're interested in what you think. We're looking forward to hear from you. Classes with the Mother, Sandra Davis. Learn about true love, soul and spirit, paradise now, gaze to the eternal paradise, gaze to the universal paradise, healing, and many other topics that you might be interested in. Check on the website and you'll find the information, and let us know if you're interested in class, online, or in your area. Welcome back. Today's show is called The Ultimate Truth, God is a Woman, or God is Feminine, right? Dr. Timothy Watson will tell you more about his views about the ultimate truth from a philosophical perspective. Dr. Timothy Watson is author of many books that I recommend to all of you full-heartedly. And he's a doctor in philosophy. So we have a brilliant mind here telling us things from a philosophical point of view.
Yeah, well, so we were talking about St. Anselm's ontological proof for the existence of God. And then we move back in time and we look at Aristotle. And his philosophy was based on some teachings from pre-Socratic philosophers, but also from his teacher, strongly influenced by Plato. And so he had this idea of causality where the cause had to be at least equal to or greater than its effect. So the antecedent has to be greater than the consequent. So the notion here relates to God, that we as beings could not exist unless we were conceived by a higher intelligence, a being that in terms of causality surpasses us as an effect. So when we take that as a notion and we realize that in most of our religions we have a concept of God as being a male, this, from a logical standpoint, doesn't relate to what could be possible because the antecedent cause, that being a male God, is not equal to its effect. A male cannot produce life. So when we look at the concept of a female God, we realize that the mother God is able to produce life, and therefore the causality proof works here, where you have a cause or an antecedent that's at least equal to its consequence or effect. So here you have a proof, a logical proof that seems to work.
Yeah, and you know, it's very interesting. I have memories from Atlantis. Mm-hmm. And one thing that we were studying there in Atlantis, that anybody cannot produce an effect greater than what they can control. It's like we're floating above the water, touching the water with the tip of our toes, and the ripples of the water are not supposed to be greater than the extent that we could control. The ripples from one was not supposed to disturb what another one was doing. And that was vital in what happened with the Great Flood. So everything we did had to be, we had to be responsible. You drive a car that you can control. You drive the type of plane that you can control. You don't jump to do something that you cannot. You are a deity that can control a region of the earth and do a great job. You don't declare yourself the greatest God of all that controls everybody and everything and make a mess of everything. That's what we suffer from right now. From those that produced more than they could control to produce the proper quality. When you have a specialist in something, knowing what's his specialty, where's somebody else's specialty, and how to cooperate, then you have a good result. When you have somebody who is a son, whom we love, declared to be the God of gods, wait a minute, where's the Father? The Son greater than the Father? How does that happen? Why would the Father produce something greater than the Father, just to have everybody forget about the Father and mess up the world and give us 2 millennia of religious wars? Because the sons are competing and none of the sons are listening to the Father? Or none of the sons are listening to the mother either? Because they came, like Zeus was a son. Oh, he became the king of the gods, and the gods are as immoral as he was. And they met their twilight, because they didn't keep the order of what they were supposed to do. So this is such a great point. It's exactly what we've been through. One has to produce what one can control. And when you have living beings that you cannot put in line and they would distort and they would abuse the law, then there'll be problems and you have to step in. This is why now, after the guys messed up, taking over and saying, there's no mother, the mother goes, aha, and how do we get life? And how do you get the living atoms that are in your toes? You get it because the mother has birthed you guys as deities who have to listen to mother and father. And that's now The Father came first, then the Son came to work for the Father, not to become greater than the Father and to forget that there is a Father, and to get everybody on his boat. Okay, we leave the earth, and the earth would be in big distress because those who follow the Son will be better than those who are on earth or the kingdom of God with Father and Mother. So we're dealing with something absolutely real here. We have to see that everyone has to take the responsibility that they can carry. And what happened in Atlantis is that they built an island, a continent bigger than could float, that disturbed the balance, and that when it sunk, it produced waves that flooded the world. The big flood that you read about, Atlantis. The people of the sea that came in the Mesopotamia, north of Africa, all of those regions, Peru, those are all who escaped the flood, who escaped the sinking with Atlantis. But when Atlantis sunk, if it was proportionate, it should have sunk like an iron that you use for ironing. You put it in the tub, it goes shh. It doesn't make the tub flood. The same thing when if Atlantis just went to the bottom and the water would have just covered the whole, that's how it was supposed to be. If it was correctly built in harmony with the laws of nature, it would go like a rock. That's the proportion. In a lake, you can have a boulder and it goes sinking and it's not going to produce a flood. You have a continent that is huge, made with pride, disregarding laws like this. You don't produce something bigger than you can control and fix. So when some of the sons went out of control, but the Father knows how to put them back in control, to respect the law and to respect life and to respect reality, and know how to fix what they done wrong when things were wrong. And that's what we're doing now. We're fixing it. And one of the things that we have to fix is bringing truth and bringing understanding. So how do you like your point? I said I'll give you the whole 10 minutes, but maybe this is a way of giving you. But I love the way you put it too well. You served it and I had to.
You did marvelously, and I'm so glad that you said what you just did, because it was profound and only the mother could express it. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this concept of God. René Descartes had 3 proofs for God's existence, and so we will take a look at these after the break.
Yeah, after the break, we'll actually take 5 minutes for each one of the 3 proofs, so we can focus on those. And because you're the expert, I'll let you do that. Sure. And I have to be a gracious hostess, right? I have to let you do what you need to do and share with us. For people who missed our previous shows, we recommend that you go and visit YouTube and type in search Paradise Now, Dialogues with the Mother. You'll find there all the episodes. Please leave your comments. We're interested in what you think. We're looking forward to hear from you. Welcome back. We're talking with Dr. Timothy Watson, author and doctor in philosophy, and we're talking about the 3 arguments of Descartes, René Descartes, the 3 arguments for proving the existence of God, right?
Mm-hmm. So they're cosmological, ontological arguments. The first one is a cosmological, ontological argument for the existence of God. So to begin with, everything has to have a cause. And the fact that I have an idea as a conscious, thinking, sentient being of God, as a infinitely perfect being, that must have a cause which is infinitely perfect for me to have even conceived it. Okay? And I myself, as a thinking agent, a human being who is a thinking agent, am not perfect. Therefore, I could not have a concept of an eternally, infinitely perfect being if there wasn't such a being in actual fact that existed outside of me and my consciousness, because I am far from perfect. And I have an idea of God which represents that being that is infinitely perfect. So how did that idea occur to me, the thinking agent? I could not have such an idea if there was no infinitely perfect being existing outside of me and my consciousness. So, therefore, an infinitely perfect being, God, exists by necessity outside of me and my consciousness. And that being that is perfect infinitely could not be a male God, because the male God is not sufficient to be perfect, because it wouldn't be able to produce life. A female God would be able to produce life. And that would constitute the missing ingredient, which constitutes perfection. The male God falls short of that perfection. So that being would not be greater than which nothing greater could be conceived, to go back to the St. Anselm argument, because that being would be incapable of producing life.